Hi, welcome back to Module 9. This is lesson number 3 in Module 9 on internal punctuation and end marks. In the previous lessons, I covered certain internal punctuation marks like the comma, the semicolon, and the colon. In this particular lesson in Module number 9, I'm still focusing on internal punctuation marks, but my focus is on the quotation mark and the apostrophe, which can cause problems in student academic writing. Sometimes students don't know when to use quotation marks properly and when to use apostrophes properly. So punctuation mark or internal punctuation mark number 4. Again, we've already covered in previous lessons the first 3 punctuation marks within sentences, and those were the comma, the semicolon, and the colon. So now my focus right now is internal punctuation number 4, the quotation mark. You're going to use quotation marks for direct quotes. When you're actually going to state what someone says verbatim, word for word, then you use quotation marks around that sentence or that question. Now, example here, he told me. Now, to introduce my direct quote of what that person told me, I'm going to open up my quotation marks right before the first word, please, and then I'm going to, after please go away, I'm going to end my quotation marks. And if you notice, because this quotation comes at the end of the sentence, I am going to put my period in front of the end quotation mark. So right after away, I'm going to put my period, and then I'm going to close out my quotation with the end quotation marks. I have another example. Mark stated, I need a vacation. I need a vacation is what he actually said, word for word. So I'm going to put quotation marks around that phrase, I need a vacation. And again, if you notice, the period goes before the quotation mark and right after the word vacation. You can also use quotation marks for shorter works. Those are titles of shorter works, such as short stories, one-act plays, poems, articles of magazines and newspapers, as well as for songs, essays, and chapters of books. So whenever you have a title of a shorter piece of literature, you need to put quotation marks around that title. Okay? My example here, A Modest Proposal, is an essay by Jonathan Swift. A Modest Proposal is my title of that essay, which is a shorter piece of literature. So I have quotation marks around that title. My next example, The Lottery, is a short story created by Shirley Jackson. Now, The Lottery is a shorter piece of literature, is the title of the work, The Lottery. So I am going to go ahead and put my quotation marks around that particular title of a short piece of work. Again, The Lottery in this example. Now I'm going to switch gears to our last internal punctuation mark, which is the apostrophe. You can use an apostrophe to form the possessive of nouns. And we talked about possessives of nouns in an earlier module, so this will be familiar to you, and make reference to the earlier modules for that. Our example here, the teacher's pen. Whose pen is it? It's the teacher's pen. And the teacher is one person, so I have an apostrophe after teacher, and I need an S with that apostrophe, again, to show possession of the pen. Lucy and Desi's children. I have possession of children. Whose children are they? They're Lucy and Desi's, to show that I have an apostrophe in front of the S after Desi's name. Then I have two cities' mayors. I have multiple mayors, so I need to find out whose mayors are they. So I have cities, and of course I have the plural form of city, which is cities, and after the S I have my apostrophe, again to show we have multiple cities and multiple mayors. You can also use an apostrophe for contractions. Now, I don't recommend you get in the habit of using contractions in formal academic writing, because a lot of times in composition courses, the instructor or professor won't allow students to write using contractions or abbreviations. However, I do have to introduce this to you, so you can use an apostrophe to show you have a contraction of a word or two. Example here, should not becomes shouldn't in apostrophe T to show that you have an abbreviation of the word not. Will not becomes won't in apostrophe T to show there's an abbreviation there. And I am becomes I'm, I apostrophe M, to show that there's an abbreviation of the word am there. But again, if I were you, I wouldn't get in the habit of using contractions in your writing, because many times instructors will not allow you in formal language to use contractions. But again, if you're writing a letter to a friend or you text messaging and you want to use contractions, and that's perfectly fine, you can use contractions to show abbreviations of words, and that's okay. So there you have it. In this last part of module number 9, or the third part, excuse me, of module 9, I focused on our last two types of internal punctuation, the contraction and the apostrophe. So hopefully you won't make these errors in your academic writing when you're dealing with bigger sentences and phrases.